Ladies and gentlemen, welcome. My name is Itai. Today I'm going over one of the most exciting games in the whole Pogchamps 2 tournament. It is the semifinal match between ItsHafu and tfblade. ItsHafu is one of the strongest players, certainly, the favorite in the whole tournament, and I think that if she manages to get to the final, then she'll definitely be able to win it. tfblade is also very strong, so this game could go both ways. So let's just go ahead and see what happens. I do want to mention, though, that if you don't want to miss the finals, make sure that you guys subscribe because I will be going over the final game as well. We see the French defense. ItsHafu, by the way, has the white pieces, and usually she ends up playing the French defense, but here she's faced against it, which could probably go her way because she has experience. She has experience playing it against other people as well. She goes ahead and plays the advanced variation, and they go into very much theory lines. For example, they play c5, now we have c3, the knights get developed. It's a very common line in the advanced variation. Here we see knight to e7, bishop e2, knight jumps to f5, which is a great spot for it. We see white castling, bishop gets developed, getting ready to castle, and here white goes ahead and takes. There's always, or at least usually, there's a lot of tension between these two pawns here, and both players usually hold off on taking until they're fully developed. But I think it's also okay to take here. It does give you some chances to occupy the square with some of your pieces later on. So I think it is definitely okay here. The bishop is back here. There is chances to attack. The bishop always has a safe square, so you're not going to be able to trap it. But nonetheless, tfblade just says, no, I don't want you to continue, pushing my bishop around. He does have to kick his knight out, but he does find a very sweet spot for it here on the king side. So both players have played incredible, which is exactly what you would expect in the semifinals. They're the two, at least some of the two best players in the whole tournament, especially ItsHafu, and they're playing really good. Here there's a trade that happens. The bishop hits the queen, and now a really nice move. Obviously, the queen has a very important job of guarding the pawn, but the queen goes ahead and goes to c7. And you are, gambiting a pawn, but the point is you find a really great spot for it where you have ideas of counterattacking on this pawn, stopping the knight from moving. You have ideas of putting pressure on this pawn. It's a great square for the queen. So I'm very impressed that he managed to find this. Now we see rook e1, both rooks getting centralized. Finally, they take the pawn. Now bishop e6. So she is up one material, but now she manages to get even more material by winning the exchange here. He just blunders it, I guess. He doesn't see the bishop taking the rook here. Now we see queen to c5 and now queen to e3, offering a trade. Whenever you're ahead, you definitely do want to trade, even though, some people might say, well, it does kind of weaken your pawn structure a little bit. The point is, it's going to be a very simplistic position. There's no queens, there's less chances to attack, and you're just going to have extra material. So I think in this case, it definitely is okay to trade here. Instead of trading, and for that reason, instead of trading, tfblade just kicks the queen back, and now we have a chance to repeat. In fact, so tfblade goes here, and if ItsHafu goes ahead and plays queen to c1, that's a draw because obviously that's repeating the same position 3 times. So she definitely does not want to do this. She has a lot of material, and a person like ItsHafu with extra material definitely is confident enough to close out the game. Finds a beautiful move, knight to d4, really fantastic. The point is, after trading, you just solidify your central position. So instead of trading, the knight takes here on e5, blundering a knight. There's not much more to say. He just misses the knight, and from here it just continues going downhill. There's not a lot more to say. There is some chances of back rank mate, but especially with ItsHafu being very careful now, guarding critical squares like d1, it's going to be hard for black to really find anything. In fact, black ends up blundering even more material, and the game's just going to end here. I mean, I'm very confident to say that ItsHafu will easily be able to close it out. In fact, here she already has an opportunity to win the rook. Instead, she moves the knight, or the king, but then now she manages to find it. So overall, she just manages to win here. In fact, tfblade does resign in this position, and so we're moving on to game 2. Let's go ahead and see what happens. So game 2 of a very exciting match. tfblade has the white pieces, and already from the start, he does something that I don't really recommend if you play d4, which he plays knight to c3. The reason is that regardless of if you're going for the London or if you're going for, the Queen's Gambit decline variation, for example, you're going to want to push the c pawn to c3 or c4. So having a knight here isn't generally what you want to do. And so usually you focus on developing your bishop and then put your knight on d2. That's what I would recommend if you play d4. But we do indeed see knight to c3, knights get out, and we do see a London. But again, the bad part of it is the fact that there's no c pawn that can be pushed up. The knight does find an okay square. The knight moves to g3, and the second that this happens, notice that when the knight moves to g3, it no longer supports this knight. So quickly she takes the knight and doubles up the pawns here. It's not the end of the world, especially if you castle kingside to a very safe position, but it is still something. We see what already starts to look more like a French defense, because even though it doesn't, the game didn't start with the French defense, we see these 3 pawns here. And if only this e3 pawn managed to get to e5, that will basically be identical to what a French defense advanced variation looks like. We see the bishop move, the rooks move, and in this position, you'll notice that's exactly what happens. The e3 pawn jumps to e5 in 2 moves, and now we have a very French-looking position, even though we obviously didn't start with the French defense, which is funny because in the first game we did start with the French defense. So both players playing very similar positions in both games. We see a very solid move here, trying to attack. And I think if you need a win here, then you can't really play passive. If you play passive, it's gonna be a draw, or you're gonna make a mistake somewhere, and it's not gonna go your way. So I think definitely you need to be aggressive, and you need to be risky. If you lose, you lose. But if you win, you definitely need that win. So I think it's good that he's trying to start attacks here, even sacrificing a piece. But he needs to make sure not to trade off any of his pieces. So here there's already threats like knight to h5 followed by mate here. So the queen comes back to try to defend. The queen comes back even further to a great defensive spot, just stopping the queen coming here. And now we see this check, but that's not really what you want to do, at least generally, because you're trading off pieces that you want to attack with. So you want to maybe try to bring in a rook somehow or push pawns. You want to do something to continue the attack. I would recommend at least, obviously, moving the queen because the queen is in danger right now. So the knight takes, then the queen takes, and here there's a trade offer. You definitely don't want to take here. You want to move the queen maybe to like h4, take advantage of this file, and maybe again try to bring a rook. But you don't want to trade. Instead, we see bishop h5, allowing a trade. That's not what you want to do, especially considering the fact that also this stops this chain here. So now the move e5 is very much possible. Now, why is e5 such a strong move? Well, if we look at this position, if we kind of stop here, let's suppose that this pawn can't be pushed forward, you'll notice that even though white doesn't have the same amount of pieces, attacking the king, there's still chances to attack because this pawn is blocking the king from moving out. These rooks are very much, stuck here. They don't have a lot of spots to go, and same with these pieces. So if white manages to push pawns, get rooks into the game, there could be chances to attack still. But the second e5 is played, you relieve some pressure that, black has, and you start focusing on the center of the board, and that gives black a way to get, the rooks activated, which, all in all will give black a chance to defend. So ItsHafu plays a wonderful move. And also, it's good that she plays it instantly. If she played something else, it gives white a chance to play f4, stopping the move e5. So it's great how she just played e5 very quickly. So very good. Here, that's a big blunder, blocking the bishop in, but also just not doing anything to attack, allowing trades as well. Ooh, that skipped a little bit, but we see c3 actually keeping white a little bit in the game. It's a great move to stop these pawns from becoming too dangerous. King moves a little bit, both kings move, and now we see, the king continues to move. There's a trade offer, and the trade is accepted. Not really what you want to do if you're down material, and even more trades happen. So again, it's not really what you want to do. In fact, if we go back a lot, something that I missed is, in this position, it might even be possible taking the pawn here. It looks crazy, but the point is you make a very dangerous passed pawn. So that's one idea that you might have. And the reason I remembered this is because in this position, it repeats. You can still try to take here. So we see h4, king moves there, h5, king. And now this is the chance for you to, do a similar idea, making a very dangerous passed pawn that's basically unstoppable. Instead, we see b5, which is still fine. There was a point where it became a little bit scary with these pawns, but the truth is you have a minor piece you can always sacrifice. You have enough pieces here to stop it. It's not really going to lead to anywhere, especially with this beautiful placement of the knight, stopping the king from, entering anywhere in the board. So it's a great move. We see h6, and now, a blunder of a pawn, but it really doesn't matter. It's just crushing. She manages to promote, wins all the pawns, and actually tfblade resigned in this position. So ItsHafu plays incredible chess in both of the games, and this match is more proof that I really think she has a chance, a huge chance, to win the whole tournament. Leave down below who you think will win in the finals. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you subscribe so you don't miss the matches tomorrow, and peace out.